Right. So Kamala Harris wants to get rid of the filibuster. And I mean, no big shocker there, right? Especially with something like, codifying abortion rights. It's a hot button issue. But this Breitbart article that we're going to deep dive into today suggests that this is like just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
This isn't just about abortion. It's about like reshaping the whole playing field of American politics.
It's true. And it's like watching a chess game unfold in slow motion, This one move, getting rid of the filibuster, it seems like laser focused, right?
Yeah.
On this one issue. But it could set off this whole chain reaction of consequences and like
Right.
totally change how power works in the Senate.
Okay, so let's back up for a second, though, for like anyone who hasn't been watching C-SPAN religiously.
Right.
Can you remind us what the filibuster even is and why it matters so much here?
Totally. So basically the filibuster is this tactic that senators can use to like stall or even completely block a vote on a bill. Even if like most of the Senate actually wants to vote on it, it lets a small group basically overrule everybody else.
And this has been one of the Senate rules forever, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's not like the founding fathers wrote it or anything. It's been around for like over a century. And both parties have used it. It's not a one-sided thing.
Okay.
So it's kind of controversial. Some people say it's super important to keep things fair and make sure that, the majority doesn't just steamroll over everyone else, that there has to at least be some compromise. But then other people say that it's like this really outdated thing that just makes it impossible to get anything done, even when like almost everyone agrees.
Right, so we're talking about like civil rights legislation, voting rights.
Exactly. All the big ones.
Okay.
The filibuster has definitely played a role in some of those big historical moments.
So Harris wants it gone, out of here. And she's saying it's about codifying abortion rights. But this Breitbart article, and Senator Daines specifically, they're saying, hold on a second. This is part of a much bigger, like, power play by the Democrats.
Yeah, that's Daines' whole argument. He's saying that this is like classic Democrats using a single issue that everyone's fired up about to distract from what they're really trying to do, which is this whole big power grab. And they point to like other times the Democrats have tried to get rid of the filibuster, like with the Green New Deal and stuff like that. And they're saying it's all part of this pattern.
Yeah, and that's where things get really interesting, right? Because Daines is saying if the Democrats actually do end the filibuster, it's going to unleash this like domino effect, right? With all these crazy consequences.
Yeah.
And it could like really change how America works.
Yeah, he's basically saying it's going to be wild. He's worried that getting rid of the filibuster is going to lead to like packing the Supreme Court.
Jarring the court.
Yeah, so like adding more justices, going from 9 to 13.
Oh, wow.
Which would obviously totally tip the balance of power on the court, probably in favor of the Democrats for like who knows how long.
Which then impacts, all sorts of rulings right down the line.
Oh, absolutely. Because it's not just about the number of judges, right? It's about how that changes the whole dynamic on the court, how they make decisions, how much power they have. It could be huge.
Yeah. Huge. Okay, so that's one domino. And then Daines says, hold on, there's more. What else? What about statehood for D.C. and Puerto Rico?
Right. Which he says would mean 4 more senators, Democrats.
Right. Right.
Which, again, like really changes the makeup of the Senate, potentially giving the Democrats this supermajority, so it's almost impossible for Republicans to block anything.
Okay, so it's like, talk about stacking the deck. And then is that all?
Well, he also says that if you have a Senate without the filibuster, they could make a federal takeover of elections happen. So basically overriding all the different state laws about voting and elections. And he says that would give Democrats a huge advantage in pretty much every election.
Wow. Okay, so it's like this snowball just gaining speed and getting bigger and bigger. That whole scenario is kind of extreme, don't you think?
It's definitely like worst case scenario stuff that he's putting out there. It's like he's trying to show everyone what could happen, what the consequences might be, if the filibuster goes away, even if it's not super likely.
Right, right. But like even if only half of that stuff happened, it would be a big deal. The fact that he's even saying these things, that a senator is this concerned about it, should make people stop and think a little bit.
Exactly. It's not something to just ignore. You have to weigh those potential consequences against, the reasons why people want to get rid of the filibuster in the first place. Because it's true, we've been talking about this, that the filibuster has stopped some important things from happening too. It's been used to block civil rights legislation, voting rights, all kinds of stuff where like most people actually support it.
Right. So it's like a catch-22 almost. It protects from things moving too fast, but it can also be used to like completely stop progress, even when it seems like most people want that progress.
Yeah, it's like this balancing act. Do you want to keep things how they are, even if it means some things stay unfair? Or do you want to try to change it, even if it means risking, like, some really big unintended consequences?
Yeah, and this is where the Breitbart article gets even more interesting because it brings up cinema and Manchin. And if you remember, those two were like the only thing stopping the Democrats from getting rid of the filibuster a couple years ago. Now they're both out, right? They're not running again. So does that mean the Democrats could like actually get rid of the filibuster this time if they wanted to?
It's definitely possible. I mean, if they keep their majority in the Senate and then they, elect enough people who agree with ending it, then yeah, they could do it.
Which I guess is a good reminder to everyone listening. Like, this isn't just about politicians arguing with each other, you know? This is about the rules of the game. And those rules impact, like, literally every single issue, right? Whatever you care about most.
Totally. Like, imagine if just getting a simple majority vote in the Senate was enough to make huge changes to healthcare or climate change or gun control, immigration, you name it. Think about how much could change, how fast.
But like we were saying before, that could be good or bad.
Yeah.
Right, depending on who's in charge at the time.
Exactly. Without the filibuster there to slow things down, whoever's in control, they have a ton of power to push through whatever they want. Which, I mean, on the one hand, could be really good if it's stuff you agree with, but it also might make things even more unpredictable, more like back and forth depending on who wins each election.
Right, right. It's crazy to me that we started with this one article about Kamala Harris and abortion, and it's like we've opened this whole can of worms about, I don't know, like the future of how American democracy even works.
I know, it's kind of mind-blowing, but that's what I love about these deep dives. It's not just about, like, one specific thing. It's about making those connections, right? And seeing the bigger picture and thinking about what it all means. Like in this case, yeah, it's about abortion, but it's also about, like you said, the balance of power, what the Senate's even supposed to be doing, and ultimately what kind of democracy we want to have in this country. Do we want things to move fast, even if it gets kind of chaotic, or do we want things to be more like slow and steady, even if it means some stuff never really changes?
Yeah, I mean, those are like really big questions, no easy answers.
Nope. But like I said, that's what's so cool about it. It's not about telling you what the right answer is. It's about giving you the information so you can figure it out for yourself.
So basically what you're saying is the next time you see a headline about the filibuster or like packing the court or making D.C. and Puerto Rico states, think back to this conversation, right?
Exactly. Because all that stuff is connected in a way. It's all part of this bigger picture.
Yeah.
So like you were saying before, don't just read the headlines, right? Think about what's really going on, who's going to benefit, what the risks might be, and most importantly, like what kind of future are we trying to build here?
That's a great place to leave it. Thanks for the deep dive. This was a good one.
Anytime. I'm glad to be here.